Good day, everyone, and welcome to Obedient Family TV. The program is Hope Alive. Yes, Hope Day. For those that believe that a new Nigeria is possible, we are headed towards that direction. Today, we have a lot to discuss with the obedient and well-meaning Nigerians worldwide. So, on a good morning, afternoon, and evening, depending where you are watching us from. What is happening now in Abuja is not different to what has been happening on the protest of hardship going on, because presently today, being Monday, as we speak, the protest is still ongoing at the airport road, being blocked. We can see residents of Abuja trooping in their numbers to protest. That is happening right now, and we'll bring up with the discussions that will be following. Then again, we heard severally of what transpired in Kaduna, where youths who are hungry stopped vehicle yet again, trucks laden with grains, with different food items, and they call them hoodlums, who are now scavenging. As we can see, the truckload cannot even pass through to Kaduna going to Kanu or other northern states, as is happening. And outside of this, again, we know about the warehouse. They said it's the National Emergency Management warehouse in Abuja that was looted again. And whether these youths know or they are angry, but a hungry person is just trying to see what they can grab, as we can see. Everywhere around Nigeria is all about hunger. And Bola Tinubu feels that Nigerians have to wait till 2027 before he could address the hunger issues that is around. Again, we have a national embarrassment that we are going to bring, a national disgrace for that matter. Ukraine offering or donating food items to Nigeria, a one-ton nation donating food items to Nigeria. And again, we have in Qatar, where Tinubu is telling investors that all his ministers and all the people in his cabinet should not be given bribe. In other words, making it very clear abundantly that all his cabinets do take bribe, but they should not give. This all coming, and not be only me go talk this thing, no. I get divine for studio.
It's a new week, and we're so glad to have you. Thank you for joining us today.
Yeah, so wherever you are joining us from, please do like and subscribe so that other obedience, we know that Obedient Family is back on this Monday to bring what is happening, what is breaking, and not just tell news, but the things that are hovering around Nigeria. Most importantly, our own Peter Obi, His Excellency, who actually spoke about this very national embarrassment, talking about the Ukraine that has been hit with several planes laden with missiles and all of that, hitting their nation. And yet, whether you call it an act of peace, an act we don't know that is akin to none, come to aid Nigeria in times of plenty for Nigeria as we speak. So these are what we are going to discuss. But before we proceed with this discussion, Divine, I will want us to look at what our own people are talking on X, formerly Twitter, and how they tend to look at what is happening in Abuja, the looting of these trucks, the hunger that is going in. Let's take some of the tweets coming on before we go into the discussions proper. So we have this one from our own comrade Aisha Yusufu. But before I go into this very reading of this very Aisha Yusufu, I want you people to understand that several people has highlighted, I saw many headlines coming out that Aisha Yusuf was arrested by the DSS, but she had came out to clarify that yesterday that she was not arrested by anybody, and we are expecting that that shouldn't happen. So for those of you who has been on those platforms saying she has came out clean to clarify that she was not arrested. So let's look at her tweet.
Well, in reaction to NEMA being invaded, NEMA warehouse in the nation's capital being invaded, she said, they keep saying Nigerians don't react. Okay, oh, we are all in danger. The angry ones will not know difference between government warehouses and private warehouses.
and she, referred to the Sahara reporters. Now, talking about this very particular tweet before we go to the next, Aisha is very close to the whole discussion around this, because as we know, there are some people who might be angry that doesn't know the difference between Dangote truck that is paid to carry other people's load and actually the one that is for the government.
Well, truth to be said, anger, or rather hunger, does not fear nobody. It's no respecter of persons, right? And when you're hungry, you're angry. And angry is a very irrational emotion, right? Most times you lose your rationality when you're hungry. So like she rightfully said, when you're hungry, you're most likely to not know what you're doing. So I doubt a hungry person is going to be calculating whose warehouse it is or whose it's not, so why they're going to vandalize the place to get food. So it's just really sad that this is what the Nigerian government has reduced us to, because when you're hungry, you just proceed. Your point is just so you get food. You don't care who owns it. And it's just sad because now private individuals or private-owned warehouses are going to bear the brunt of it, because what happens on a day when somebody mistakes them for, being a government-owned warehouse? And then they just...
While we take another reaction on net, it also occurred to me that even when we have the army, because the last one that happened along the Kaduna Expressway, local roundabout, so to speak, we realized that the army were there shooting up and people were still carrying those goods. So it means that even while the gunshots are going up, people who are angry, or rather who are hungry, must go out to get their food. So let's take another reaction from those tweets coming from anger, from the things that are happening in the hardship. So, and while we're at it also, we also look at the protests that is also happening. But let's take a clip from that, the looting that was going on these trucks, and what people are actually reacting to it. The voice notes that are there, because at the end of the day, we are hearing the kind of shouting, and some people were actually making comments on what was happening. Let's take a listen.
Can I call you back? I did. Man, boy is the best. Oh, boy is the scatter area. Oh, boy is the best. Oh, boy. This is, I think this is Tashawan warehouse.
Ah! This is Nema's warehouse. And as we know yesterday, the way most media, that is the mainstream media carried it, they were calling it hoodlums. That is what they want you to believe, that hoodlums. These are hungry people who are out there. And they know, because they are the ones that would have discharged the foods in those warehouses. So the youths know where the foods are located.
Right. Well, if they call them hoodlums, I guess they're the monsters they made, because this is hungry people. These are hungry people. And so I don't support what they are doing, because I understand that order should be restored. But at the same time, that's what, the current economic realities have reduced them to. A lot of people now are just trying to eat. And if they are aware that there's food somewhere after they're being starved, I don't think anybody is going to be very rational in thinking, oh, this is not right, and checking whether this is right or wrong. They are just really the monsters they made. And so painting them as hoodlums does not really solve the problem. It is meant for them to just go back to the drawing board and, figure out ways to make life easier for Nigerians. Maybe we'll stop having these issues.
Okay, and that reminds me, Divine, that before Tinubu's departure to Qatar, and when he said let him take a jab at the NLC, reactions has been coming out from different quarters as a result of his jab. And what everybody is looking at is, he said 8 months, 4 different protests. However, the labor union has come out to clarify that Tinubu wouldn't have even survived 4 of such pressures in that very 8 months. But again, we have some Nigerians who are actually speaking both on platforms and also on the mainstream media, that during Goodluck Ebele Jonathan's time, he did not have up to 9 months before Tinubu launched the protest because Jonathan took over starting from 2011,
right.
And then by 2012 he was already hitting, and that was the generation when APC wants to take over power, and they started their protest from day one. And like I said to every other person the other day, wherever you're watching us from, I said the act of being in opposition starts from day one. Tinubu has actually told us that we should wait till 2027, and the planning must commence now on how we are going to take this action. And I think Sowore was actually mentioning that in an interview where he said from day one, right, you start your planning. And he's saying we need to actually start the planning now. Let's take a listen to what he has to say.
Mention of the fact that this is all we have. This is all we can get from the NLC.
Yes.
And I'd like your advice now that, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has said that they are not the voice of Nigeria. People are not taking them seriously. He even said that they should go and contest for the 2027 election if they want to be part of the electoral process. What should the NLC do now at this point?
So let me respond to Bola Tinubu, President. What he was saying is ballooning. Reason being that when they wanted to come to power, did they wait 2015? They started plotting since, in fact, they practically hijacked occupied Nigeria in 2012. That was where they started their political movement, the APC, from. And when did Jonathan come to power? I think 2011? Yes. So Jonathan had not enjoyed up to 9 months in power when occupied Nigeria happened. So what is he complaining about? And where in the world did he read, they don't study, that democracy requires that you go and wait for election day? Opposition starts from day one. Whatever they are opposed to, they start opposing it, with ideas, physically, they engage in protest. France had over 6 months of protests, I think, in 2022. I think they are still protesting now.
France is the home of protest.
Exactly. So the US, you go to the US, people are protesting every day. There are people on the streets of US who are protesting against government. Some people go and protest against God. It's their fundamental right. Why would you now say that, the NSC should go and wait for 2027? The NSC already told you that they have hardship issues. Can that wait? You are paying, the only thing that's static since you came to power is the minimum wage. Every other thing, you met dollar at 700 naira, is now 1,600 yesterday. Before, in February, it got to 2,000 for 1 hour. Are you getting my point? You met fuel at how much? It's now at 650 or even more. There are places that are selling for up to 1,000. They met diesel at 950. Diesel is almost 1,500 across the country. So what are we talking about? So you want everybody to wait and die until 2027. But most importantly,
yes,
it's also saying something that I think is important for everybody. Develop new voices. Because he no longer respects even the NLC. That's what he's telling you. And that's what I said when we started this conversation. The civil society movement in the country should also stop waiting opportunistically for a labor strike before we can strike on our own. We should be able to strike independently of labor. Let's flood the street tomorrow. He will know that there are real voices. Even this last labor thing, by the way, in Lagos was a joke. Police was distributing biscuits.
So as we have heard both from Sowore and other people, and what they are talking about precisely is that Tinubu should not be looking at the entire 3 years and all of that. As we know, 9 months is enough for somebody to actually give us a way. You understand me, or the plan. Right. And moreover, when I see the youths going to this very NEMA, what I see is that they already know that there was food there. After all, they were planning before to use NEMA and DSS to do a distribution of these food items across the whole local government. So they knew they were there and they are starving, and the implementation has not kicked off. So they felt probably, is it until they die? So they will not know the difference, like Comrade Aisha said, the difference between the one that belongs to the government and the one that, and even Dino Melaye put his mind, he has a tweet he sent in that he predicted this is going to happen and is happening now. Right.
Speaking of President Bola Tinubu telling the Nigerian Labour Congress to wait till 2027, I actually buy what Omoyele Sowore was saying, because to be very honest, in history, Tinubu was never lenient with Jonathan's administration. Earlier, sometime last week or so, we had the covering where we talked about the newsletter he published in The Nation in 2014, right? He kept saying a lot. He had a lot to say about the effects of the fuel subsidy removal that the Goodluck Ebele Jonathan administration embarked on. And so seeing him now come out to say, oh, it's just 9 months into his administration, and then the Nigerian Labour Congress, them going on strike is unacceptable. I just think it's very laughable, because opposition, like Sowore said, it starts anytime, especially since if they have something to, oppose, right? And so if we've told you before that, oh, the living conditions, maybe you're so detached from the reality and you can't relate to it, but we've told you that the living conditions of Nigerians and the labor, workforce is not, anything to write home about, and you're not doing anything about it. We have a right to protest. So just coming out to say that, it just lacked empathy, and it was just very, forgetful of him.
Unfortunate. So let's go straight to the other national embarrassment or disgrace, so to speak, of seeing Ukraine coming down to assist Nigeria on hunger. And even that very food items that they bring, now they're going to store it in another holding facility. Probably takes another 1 month for to spread it to governors, who in turn will now politicize it. Well, that is what we're looking at. So, but is for us, we think it's an embarrassment for a country that is being hit left, right, and center by a superpower like the Russians, to still look at Nigeria that is not into any war, so to speak, and coming there. So we have our own His Excellency P2B, who actually reacted to this very thing, and he has a lot to say. Let's start with the post that he made on his X platform.
He said, let me begin by sincerely appreciating the war-torn nation of Ukraine for their generous donation of tons of grains to Nigeria, thereby aiding our current fight against national hunger. As laudable as Ukraine's kind gesture is, it speaks volumes for us as a people endowed with all needed human and natural resources.
Yes, and let me take it off from where this post is coming out. As you know, you can always go to P2B's X account to get his reaction to this, as our own people, the production crew, is trying to reposition that. So let me take it off from Divine. And starting from where he said, it speaks volume for us as a people endowed with all needed human and natural resources, that a country officially prosecuting a brutal war of national survival with its powerful neighbor, Russia, is generous and kind enough with their food supplies to help us who are officially at peace, Nigeria at peace. For the people of Ukraine, this act of humanity, solidarity, testify to a real generosity of spirit, which should earn them greater global solidarity. It demonstrates our shared humanity. However, a situation like this underscores vigorously the importance of sound political leadership as the first concrete requirement for any nation desiring to develop the enhance the standard of living of its citizenry. It is disheartening that our once economical confident nation, blessed with vast arable land and abundant natural resources, now relies on a war-torn Ukraine for food assistance. This national disgrace stems from years of leadership failure, necessitating urgent reflection and the reordering of our national priorities and resource management and allocation. Instructively, Ukraine, with a population of 43 million on 607,000 kilometers, outshines northern Nigeria, covering over 774,000 kilometers with a young, energetic population exceeding 100 million. Talking about northern Nigeria. Now, in 2015, Ukraine's GDP per capita was $2,125 US, compared to Nigerian 2,680, that is in 2015. Now, by 2022, despite being at war, Ukraine's GDP per capita exceeded 4,000 US, while Nigeria's regressed to 2,184,000 US. Ukraine cultivates over 60% on its arable land, whereas Nigeria has over 60% uncultivated arable land. Despite the conflict, Ukraine feeds itself and exports agricultural products worth over 25 billion, which is about the same value as our crude oil export earnings, and it serves as a strategic global food supplier, providing aid to a peaceful yet unproductive Nigeria. To overcome this embarrassment, we must aggressively reorder our priorities by investing resources in productive sectors like agriculture. Addressing security is crucial for farmers to return to their fields, enabling a productive manufacturing sector and supporting small businesses. Then we look at, in 4 to 5 years, this concerted effort can reverse the current trend, leading us towards a productive and new Nigeria that I believe is possible and within reach. PO. Wow, this is a big one coming from our own excellencies, PO. Our principal is telling us that we have 4 to 5 years to make this happen. And 4 to 5 years to make this happen means we have 3 years more on to go. And 3 years leads us to 2027. What are our plans? What are our priorities? We need to strategize. We need to position our priorities to be right. And once we do that, like Sore said in that interview, he said APC started from day one. They started their opposition, their planning, their regrouping to take over from PDP from day one. We cannot go and be resting while they are already planning on how they are going to reach 2027. That we wouldn't let happen, because if we do, it means we are also indicted, we are involved. We know what transpired now. We know better coming 2027. We all need to stick together and plan. So, Divine, what are your thoughts on this so that we can quickly move to what is happening in Qatar?
Well, it's just really embarrassing to see that we've stooped so low to the point that we're now, begging for food, right? Because Ukraine, like we rightly know, is a war-torn country, and not just we're not talking it's something really light. We're talking something serious. In between missiles being thrown to them, somehow they still managed to make food production a priority, enough to feed their citizens and still have some to give out, because this might be a form of charity from them, but at the same time it is very laughable when in relation to Nigeria. Like, Nigeria is supposed to be the giant of Africa, and then it's gotten to the point where even in a state where we have relative peace, right, and we're still stooping to get loans, food loans, grain loans from these people who have been in a war actively since 2022. And it's just very sad to see. Like His Excellency Peter Obi said, we need to invest into making good use of our lands, because we don't cultivate them due to insecurities. Farmers are, not interested in going to their farms to farm because there's no safety. When they go out to farm, it's one insecurity or one banditry or the other. And so it's just sad to see. Yes, it might be a good step from them, but at the same time, it's a slap on the faces of Nigerians, because now it's looking like we now have to depend on outsiders to give us food.
Especially coming, that's why it's a national disgrace, coming from a one-tongue girl. But thanks to Ukraine for looking out for us, I'm sure that we will reciprocate. And once we have a better leadership, I think Nigeria will function better and also support them. Then let's look at what is happening in Qatar. As a lot of people are reacting to Tinubu's call that Qatar investors should look away. Don't give bribe to Nigerian officials, and that has raising so much reactions to people, both in high authority and people. So let's look at the tweets that are coming on from X, the reaction of people. Let's take one at a time. We have David Undeyin, who said he wants to give a quick reminder that when I was shortlisted for at ACE_award, that is the AID award in 2022, an award funded by Sheikh Al-Tamimi himself, the reason for my nomination was my exposure of a certain Bola Tinubu's history as a drug lord. Sheikh Al-Tamimi knows exactly who and what you people are. And he goes on and on to present different other views. Then we have Hussein Rufai here, who also said that when a president tells foreign investors to report his officials that ask for bribes, one, is he not demarketing his country by telling the world his officials take bribes? Two, is this not an indictment on his selection process? Number three, would anyone, investors, come to a place where the president is forewarning about a possibility of bribes? This is coming from Rufai Husseini, who obviously is saying that this. Then let's look at what David Undeyin said, a quick reminder. You know, David Undeyin said to remind us that he was actually invited for an award in Qatar. And the reason why he was invited for that is because he did an investigative work on Bola Tinubu, which produced the fact that he was actually doing drugs as at that very time in the US. So based on all of that. Now he's trying to remind us that the Qatari government actually knows that this is happening, so that whatever else he's talking about over there, they already know. And those investors he's expecting to come, they already know what happened, and it will not happen. That this is just a paparazzi kind of, or what do you think? Well,
it's just really interesting to see what's going on, to be very honest, because that's probably why his first offer to visit was being turned down amidst all the propaganda. They came out to say, oh, that's not true. But from what we can see about it, he was going to be awarded. He lost the award, right? But at least he got the recognition. But the point is, the person who is funding this award is the same person that our president went to see. So they most likely know him and know his antecedents. Now, speaking of him talking about Nigerian officials not collecting bribe, or they should not give Nigerian officials bribe, it's just very sad to see, because which investor is going to be interested in investing in a country where the president already told them that there's a possibility of bribery and corruption happening, right? And I want to take some of the replies I got from the tweets Rufai Husseini made. Somebody said, your president is a local champion. He does not know what to say and what not to say. He has failed. He will fail. He's already a failure. Nothing will come out of his 8 years. Let me correct that impression. Hopefully he doesn't get to stay 8 years. Someone else said, charity begins at home. Let him begin with him. He who comes to equity must come with a clean hands. And that is just some of the few replies we got under that tweet that was saying that it wasn't such a good move from him for him to admit in a meeting, investment meeting, telling them that there's a possibility that there's going to be bribe.
Yeah, so obviously the talk is not just limited to X. The report is also going on the mainstream media, where we have people on hierarchy, people that their words are taken not just for granted, but taken as a word of honor, who are saying that why would he be referring to his people he put into office as bribe takers. We have even Osta Chidoka, who actually voiced his opinion on this. Let's see his reaction.
the investment arrangement that we've made. Because it has happened in the Halliburton scandal. We've seen a lot of scandals in this country where investment drive comes into the country, but it's being stifled by corruption issues. You don't think that it's learned from the past to say, do not allow all of what you have heard in the past to affect your judgment about investing in Nigeria?
Hell no. Did you hear the president of Italy comment about the Ajib bribery case in Nigeria? That a business goes to do their business and spends bribes. It's not the business of the government of Italy. It's not the business of the government of Nigeria. The people that are caught doing it should be punished. And we have processes for punishing it. No foreign investor will be happy to know that he needs to talk to the president to be able to reverse an issue of corruption or bribery. Nobody in the world would like to do that. The fact that Halliburton, you mentioned, was a case. Have you heard any precedent from the country of Halliburton coming out to speak about the Halliburton case? We had the Enron case. Americans went and passed a law and said, these are things that we should stop companies from doing going forward. When the banks collapsed, they passed the Sarbanes-Oxley law saying, remove investment banking from commercial banking. Countries, presidents take action to systematically solve a problem, not whistleblowing and catching thieves.
So you think that the optics for Nigeria...
I don't think the optics for Nigeria... it's not good optics for Nigeria. It's not good optics for Nigeria. I hope that in future he will not say this again. He should find a way to reverse himself and just say, these are some of the things. I just want to show you that we are on top of the situation. But the truth of the matter is that Nigerian banks are operating around the world. Nigerian banks are operating in the US. UBA has a banking license in the US. GT Bank has a banking license in the UK. Why are you going to make people believe that Nigerians are bribe takers? Why would the president of Nigeria condone that? He shouldn't. Because this is a way of signaling to the world, yes, we are endemically corrupt, or as they said, fantastically corrupt, and I'm here to solve the problem. But that's not what the world wants to hear. They want to hear that when you take a case to judiciary in Nigeria, it will last about 3 months till you get judgment. They don't want to hear that you will spend 9 months in the court, 2 years in the court looking for judgment. They don't want to hear that you need to go and see a judge for you to get judgment. They don't want to hear that the police in Nigeria will ask you to bring money to go and investigate. Those are the issues that bother any foreign investor.
If you look
about the president catching the thieves.
Yeah, I mean, perhaps the optics for you don't think that it sits well for the image of Nigeria globally. There are also the communication of even the president had said it to the Qatari government or leaders in Qatar. Maybe it shouldn't have gotten out of the room. Maybe it shouldn't have been communicated.
It should be like a dinner table talk, just saying, if you have any issues, if you have any obstacles, but not the word bribe. It could be obstacles. It may not just be bribe. It may just be, obstacles. We have obstacles like the issue of TINAPA that the custom took a strong position against. It wasn't a case of bribery. So some foreign investors come to Nigeria and some...
Really an irony, because as you recall, some time ago during the Buhari's administration, Buhari actually said that Nigerians are fantastically corrupt. And now we have Tinubu of the same APC trying to reposition the same thing. And he said when you give them bribe and they take that, you should report to us. Who are you reporting to? Is it the same people that is in authority? Oh, you go and report to Bajabi Amila. I don't understand who you are going to report to. Or if they have access to him. So if they report to him, Tinubu, what is he going to do? Please go to the comment section. Tell us what your thoughts are. Even if they give the bribe and report it directly to Tinubu, what do you think he will do? Please indulge us. Go to the comment section. Tell us your thoughts. Again, I want to inform us clearly that Qatar has not confirmed any agreement with Nigeria. Let's be frank and not let's be deceived. Qatar has not confirmed any agreement with Nigeria. No confirmation of such agreement could be found on Qatar's official government website. And if you recall when, what do they call it, that communique that came out from Qatari embassy, they were clear that there is no such agreement with Qatar. Right. And if Tinubu went to Qatar and succeeded in getting an agreement with them on investment, then they will produce this. You know that he went with people and they always do their paparazzi. The only thing we have not seen from Qatar now is that their big picture, because they will know we are going to talk about it. Right. So that you're not seeing them where they have 1,000% showing their faces, but we know there are many, more than they are reported. But the point is, I want our viewers, I want well-meaning Nigerians to understand that Qatar has not confirmed any agreement, business agreement with Nigeria. No confirmation of such agreement until either we get jury, is it Agoreri, I be waiting be name myself, all those lie people. Whether may them come talk them. When they talk them, then go no say e get, and then go sure say e get. But from the documents coming out from Qatar, then talk say they no get any relationship where concern business with Nigeria. And now for that very place, now we there. So please feel free, go to the comment section. Tell us your thoughts on all of this, and please do not hesitate to like this video so that other obedience will know. I will also not fail to remind you that we are still working towards the repositioning that our principal talked about, from the consumption to production, the obedient cooperative society. Obedient Family Cooperative Society is in the making, guys. And I need you to understand that everybody must be carried on board. So that Obedient Family Cooperative Society, we keep talking about it every week until we unveil it. When we unveil it, we want everybody to be in. And that has to deal with productions in agriculture, aquaculture, fishery, and all whatnot. We must go into production in all the local governments in Nigeria, putting our structure in order. Until we come again your way. Bye for now.
Police against Tinubu reported in year 2000, 7 Nigerian Weekly Law Report, part 665, at page 481. I repeat, Fahemi versus Inspector General of Police in Red Tinubu's falsification, forgery. That's the governor of Lagos State. Number 7 Nigerian Weekly Law Report, part 665, page 481, where the Court of Appeal held that police, which is inferior to this tribunal, can investigate allegations of crimes committed by Mr. President, one in office, Vice President, one in office, Governor, one in office, Deputy Governor, one in office. If they can be investigated while in office, how can the fight-fighting tribunal?
I don't have a copy because I haven't got the library here.
Yes,